So Lucas obviously runs the gym on the north of the island. So he runs the unit, but also he's on the weightlifting board with me. So we've recently set up within the last sort of 18 months the Manx Weightlifting Association, because the island has never had a formal national governing body for weightlifting.
Yeah.
So we decided about a couple of years ago that we wanted to do that. So Lucas and I both run clubs separately, so either side of the island, and we're hoping to get some lifters. We've got a couple of junior lifters in the Bucks, the university champs, and the national champs in the junior divisions. But we're aiming for Commonwealth Games for some athletes and some para athletes. So it's looking quite good. But yeah, Lucas is a really good guy, and I see him a couple of times a week. So via CrossFit initially, but yeah. So no, interesting about Aratas. No, there's always links, and on the island there's a small population anyway, 84,000. So and then within that, the gym industry is relatively small. So owners and coaches are all relatively at one with another. So yeah, but all good. But no, Nicolas, thanks very much for joining me today. What I'd like to do initially is just hear about a little bit about yourself, your background, how you got into the industry, and then we'll kind of naturally feed into GymSync, and we can have a good discussion around that, if that's all right.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Nick Denby. So I guess I got into CrossFit initially in 2009, I would say. So probably one of the earliest adopters out in CrossFit London in Bethnal Green. So it was the first affiliate outside of the United States. Andrew Stemler created that. So was doing that, but I was working in finance at the time. So, but obviously fell in love with the methodology, fell in love with fitness, and was not happy in my job. So came around to 2016 and I quit my job, and I thought, look, I love this lifestyle. I want to start my own business or coaching, or wasn't quite sure. Like the ultimate goal was doing my own gym. So fast forward to 2018, got a couple of years of PTing and coaching under my belt. And then the sister gym of CrossFit London called CrossFit SE11 became available to buy. So the same owners of CrossFit London. And then I approached my business partner, Tim, who's also a coach and a ex-venture capitalist as well, to join me in the new venture. So we changed the name from CrossFit SE11 to Slevin CrossFit. And pretty much fast forward to now, that was 2018. So yeah, 6 years on, we're in our second facility now at Slevin. So we've got, we were in One Arch just down the road, 400 meters. Now we've kind of upgraded to a brand new, like basically purpose-driven, like bespoke made gym. So we are massive on events, massive on community. We created it so that we could run the classes that we want to run. Basically, we can. It's a purely. I'd say it's evolving now into where the market is going, into this hybrid market. We're like a truly hybrid gym. We're able to run CrossFit classes, weightlifting, gymnastics on one side. Able to run strength and conditioning, cardio, hierarch classes on the other side. We've got a PT area in the middle as well. So we're just. We can basically kind of cater to all levels and different parts of the market. And you can see here, we've designed it so that we can run competitions really effectively. So you see the rigs down the middle means that we can run 150 to 200 people in an event.
Wow.
So the Slevin Games, which you saw just now on the Instagram. So we can run these large scale events in a really small facility and you get a lot of bang for your buck. So it costs a lot to put it all together, obviously, just all the equipment. So each area is independent of the other areas, which is really cool. So yeah, you can see there, this ain't my first rodeo. So that's one of the workouts on the Slevin Games coming up in May. We also run hierarch sims. So we get heats of 8 to 16 people every 8 minutes. So we ran one a week and a bit ago, and it was nuts. We had about 200 people. So this one here, so 200 people come down. We ran heats for 2 hours. So it's a beautifully scalable event. We can get 400 or 500 people. We run heats all day, really. So yeah, it's all starting to come together on that side of things from Slevin. And I guess that's a really good segue into GymSync. So I guess we are just massively into events. And about a year and a half ago, Chris Sewell from Apex Ability Gym up in Durham got in contact with us and was like, hey, let's do a cross gym event. And I was like, yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it. Then we started talking, okay, what's the level of your gym? What's the level of my gym? And then you come up to the problems of, scaling. What are the workouts? What equipment do you have? What equipment do we have? And then we thought, okay, well, why don't we just do it with ergs? And then we just started kind of developing the idea. And fast forward kind of 3 to 6 months, we decided, okay, we'll do our 2 gyms, but why don't we just start to develop this out so that we can then create this basically a turnkey event, which is what GymSync is turnkey event for gyms that's erg based. We've trademarked the name erg racing, so we think we're creating almost a new sport.
Okay.
Only has concept 2 bike ski row in the workouts, and then we have burpee variations, but they're always going to be burpees over a line or burpees over a box or stepping over a box. So all the movements are judgeable. There's really easy standards. It's either you do it or you don't sort of vibe. You can write down, see what the monitor is saying. And then it's just infinitely accessible. So our goal with GymSync is twofold. So first one is creating a network of gym owners, network of gyms, and creating sort of an environment of best practice. And then second kind of really lofty goal is to grow fitness. So we think we can bring people into gyms. We think that we can bring leads, referrals, bring extra revenue to gyms, and in a big way because it is so accessible. And yeah, I guess coming from a CrossFit background, having run now a gym for 6 years, seeing it for a good 16 years, I kind of know how everything kind of works. And I know this is a really good idea just in its simplicity. And we're really excited about it. We just ran our last event now this weekend. We had 500 teams, over 1,000 athletes compete, our biggest event yet. And it's just now starting to gain a ton of momentum. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. How much did you know about it before the call? Or the podcast?
So in terms of let me just hide that for a second. So in terms of GymSync, the first that I saw about it was with Steve. He did a show with you on Defiant series a few months ago now. Mm-hmm. And that was the first kind of thing I saw about it. I'm aware of your facilities in the gym, which is I want to kind of come back to that in a sec. But what really sparked my interest is the last kind of few months. Say longer than that, but in the public kind of CrossFit online social sphere, Hyrox has sort of come to the forefront a little bit. So its profile has sort of heightened. In our gym where we are, we've been a Hyrox affiliate for nearly 2 years. So I've been aware of it from a gym perspective, as an affiliate perspective, as coaching and watching people and sending people to events. And one of my good friends, John from Scotland, he's done 8 or 9 of them now. I've spoken to Nigel Levitt, who's one of the masters best in the world. So in terms of Hyrox, I'm very aware of that. Now that's sort of broadened my mind. Like you, I was a relatively earlier adopter. I was aware of CrossFit around the same time as you were. I didn't start an affiliate till tail end of 2011, early 2012, because that was the nearest one to me. Started my own affiliate in 2015, had that for 8 or 9 years, and then sold. So I would say I'm CrossFit through and through. The methodology and the sport, for me, it's the circus. It comes to town once a year, and it's great. And I love seeing the strong men and women, and I love seeing the circus acts and the high ropes and all that kind of stuff, and the elephants balancing on balls. But it leaves town for me. So I've kind of got this annual thing where it comes around, and then I kind of forget about it. It's not on my mind that much. I'm kind of more in line with regular gym goers, the community, hence the name of this podcast, the base show. I'm more interested in the baseline, so the nutrition, the foundations of the community and the Metcon, and gradually building up towards that higher end performance. That's where I sit, and I have done for best part of 13, 14 years now. However, what I will say is the introduction to the public kind of sphere of Hyrox has broadened my horizons to what what we can do as facilities and gyms. I've been speaking a lot with Two Brain owners, so with Two Brain business developers and owners across Europe the last sort of couple of months, and it appears very abundantly to me that the best gyms, the gyms that are going to be the most profitable, have the best communities, and therefore survive and keep CrossFit alive, are the ones that are willing to adapt, add incrementally new opportunities for people, develop new ways of training. Hyrox obviously is using functional fitness, using predominantly CrossFit gyms to train people up in. Then that leads me to when I watched Steve's show with you, and I came across kind of what you guys do. So with that in mind, your type of community-driven, more so obviously erg-related and base like foundational Metcon movement events that run in the gyms really sparked my interest, because it's something that, like you've said, anyone can do. It doesn't require a hell of a lot of organization in it with regards to the gym's perspective. You need the machines, you need batteries in them, you need to know the rules, and you need people to actually do it. It's really easy to organize and to log in and through Team Aritas system to go in and to book on and to check in. And it's something that everyone can get involved with, and it comes around. I think the events are every a few months, are they? So I did have a calendar up. So it's not as if it's once a year. It's not as if it's every weekend. It's something that people can gradually build towards, and it's very unique. So when I came across it and I saw it, it really sparked my interest, because it's one of those where you don't have to be a high flyer in terms of, you know, being able to do muscle ups and heavy snatch heavy. That's on one end. And I saw one of the posts by I believe one of your I can't remember the gent's name. There's a post. Am I sharing this? Lawrence. Is it Tim Lawrence? Is that right?
Yeah, he's my business partner.
So I saw that this was pretty cool. And I turned 40 about a month ago, and I'm kind of starting to move into a different stage of my own training. And listening to Tim talk about kind of the advent of this and what it means and how accessible it is for the masters athletes, that really appealed to me as well. I know I'm on the lower end of the masters athletes, but it does appeal to me. The other part of all of this is that I coach a lot, and I'm a PT by predominantly by trade nowadays, rather than coaching classes. And a lot of what I hear from people in the CrossFit gyms and from my PT is they would love to have goals. They would love to have these events that they can build towards. But what we are seeing at the top end of the tip of the spear of CrossFit is driving this tangent that most gym members just cannot work towards. That it's well without of our reach and our realm. So competitions like yours are kind of, and this is where I've seen Hyrox, they're bringing back people towards events, towards goals, towards competition that we kind of lost along the way in the affiliates. And they're not competition against CrossFit. It actually gives CrossFitters an opportunity to test their fitness. And when you've got events like ATHEX that are predominantly Metcon and heavy work, you've got your events that are in the facilities at the gym. So you don't have to travel, to these events necessarily. You organize it yourself. It's all Metcon based. Then you've got the Hyroxes that are kind of further along, and it's this big event, this mass event that people can go to. I love what's happening, especially in the UK scene, because I'm biased, because this is where I am. But across Europe, you're seeing this further development of all these events that people can do. So it's giving people that power back to say, do you know what? I should train for something. I have got a goal here, and I am going to do something in 6 months' time, or I am going to join this league of comps like you guys are running. It's a superb way of getting people back interested in competition. Because I personally think one of the reasons why people have drifted away from, let's call it CrossFit, is because traditionally we had the Open every year as that mainstay of CrossFit year. That we at my gyms especially, we geared up all year round. The Open was our target and our goal that we cycled our methodology and training towards. That seems to have gone lost along the way. And I think because people have lost the appetite for competition and events. The last year or so, and the last 6 months, especially in socials, all I've seen is that a resurgence of that. So your take on this and your event, that you've got a very unique offering, that's what sparked my interest. I think you've got an incredible event that people can do. It's very accessible, and that's what caught my eye. And this is exactly why I wanted to pick your brains about it and ask you a bunch of questions about it, because it's such a cool concept. And I just wanted to know.
I think just to follow on from that, you haven't asked a question, but so I was in a meeting the other day. 16 to 17% of the UK population has a gym membership where they do resistance training. So it's a very, very small amount of people that do resistance training. And they're like, well, Nick, your event is cardio. Yes, it's cardio, but that's how everybody, that's how everybody starts off, right? When you start fitness, it's always like, oh, I do football or I go for a run. You start with your spinning classes, all that sort of thing. But like my goal is to get people into gyms, because all the gyms that are running GymSync are resistance strength-based gyms, right? So I'm breaking down that barrier so people can get into these gyms to do that. So yeah, let's get people in. It's easily accessible. You might ski badly, you might have horrible form, but it's safe. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna get a really good workout in, and then it's not gonna be this scary place. I mean, look at my gym. It's all black. There's these rigs that must be daunting for most people coming in, and we don't realize it because we're in the industry. But like, people walk into these gyms and they are absolutely terrified. But then they see everyone's dancing, everyone's having a beer, everyone's got friends, and you're just like, wow, I wish I had walked into one of these places before. So if I can break down those barriers, so then we can teach them how to squat, we can teach them how to deadlift, then we can teach them how to muscle up, then we can, all I'm trying to do is kind of break the barrier down, where I feel like the barrier to get into CrossFit now is quite high. So, like Harix has lowered it, I'm trying to lower it down. And like the less barriers there are for businesses to bring people in, the more we're going to get people healthy, the more people, like, we're going to help gyms make money, make their facilities better, professionalize the industry, professionalize coaching. All this is all interlinked. So the more that we can break these barriers down, and working with these other competitions, we don't see Hyrox, Athex, Metrics, all these competitions are just helping the industry. And I feel like, I must have talked to over 100 gym owners in the last year just through GymSync, and and I feel like CrossFit has a weird antagonism towards like all this stuff that's coming through. And just like you were saying before, we should be open to it, because all it's going to do is provide more people to come into this market, get more people fit and healthy. And then the people that want to do CrossFit, we can get them to do it, but we can get them doing strength and conditioning beforehand. We get people stronger doing the foundational movements, and then we can move them into the CrossFit. If they're ready, we can pop them into CrossFit as soon as we can. But the more we can grow this market, the better it's going to be for everybody, really. And obviously, I think back to what I was saying before, it's quite a lofty goal. We're going to make people healthier. We're going to make people happier. We're going to create communities. I mean, loneliness is such a massive issue just in London, for example, and across the UK. Like, our high streets are decimated. There's such a lack of sense of self and communities now, and like these hubs are going to be now what can really help bring people together. And obviously GymSync is one way of doing it,
Yeah. And we, as an industry, we have to have a toolbox full of different tools for different, application. We can't just have one thing that suits everyone. We used to have I think some people still use it within CrossFit early days. It was, this is for anyone, but not for everyone. Yeah. Now, what we need to do as a network of gyms, as CrossFit affiliates, we need to make sure that we have something for everyone.
Yeah.
So we have this one thing, this one methodology that we used to have in the facilities. People used to come, they'd do an induction, or they'd see us online and they'd say, do you know what? That's not for me. I love the way it looks and blah, 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 but it's not for me. What we can do now, we've got these insane facilities like yours. We would be foolish not to offer different, training methods in order to get people at least through the door.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that I was going to actually ask you. Do you, your gym as it is right now, was that 2018 that you had that facility built?
So 2018 was the first one.
Right.
That was 400 meters down the road. And then in January 2023, we opened 11 2.0 is what we call it now.
So did you have in mind when you built that, because it's obviously perfectly suited, did you have Hyrox sims in mind when you built that?
No, we had events in mind.
Right.
So the Hyrox sim has really kind of taken off, but we knew that we wanted to, like, our motto, like what we stand for is fitness made social. So that's what we're all about. So we knew that we needed a facility that we could run 2 separate spaces. Well, we had 3 spaces. We have the functional space, the CrossFit space, and then the PT space. But then we needed each space to run independently. We needed the space to run so that we could run big events like the 11X Games. What's started to happen now with the Hyrox sims, which we run now every 6 weeks, which is kind of nuts. Then we've got other events. We run weightlifting competitions. We do like a big charity event every September. You get hundreds of people through the door. So it's purpose built for all of this stuff. And we didn't build it for GymSync, but we had 96 people in on Friday night for GymSync. It's nuts. It's and if we get some more ergs in, we could run it in both arches, right? And we could have 200 people in one evening in 3 hours. What was it? Yeah, 3 hours we had it. So it's pretty cool. And I guess we had the template. We built it knowing the way we wanted to build it, but now it's kind of all coming to fruition. And you're saying the gyms that will survive are the ones that have thought about kind of like what's going to be the next step. Hyrox might not be the thing in 3, 4, 5 years. That's okay. We can always pivot. We have a very strong brand. We've been very strong on our own brand. So like our strength and conditioning class is called 24/11. Our CrossFit class is called 11X. So if, we're seeing CrossFit pivoting now more towards what I like to call like intermediate turf games. So that sort of level, you're taking out the super high level stuff. So like the ring muscle ups, some of the high level gymnastics, some of like snatching. People don't book in. When we put in gymnastics, I was talking to Loz the other day, our coach, she does the programming. She's like, when I put in gymnastics skill stuff, people don't book in. And it's like, well, I'm running a business. We're running a business. Like if people aren't coming in for these classes, what do you want us to do? And, the CrossFit methodology, you got to put it in there because that's what people need. And you should just come in, not look at your programming, all that sort of thing. But if they're all going into the other arts to do bench press, then, I need to adapt my programming here so that we do get people in, because ultimately, if they're not coming in, they're not getting fitter. They're going out, they're doing something else. So, I want them to enjoy the workouts. I want them to come in and do these things. And, we do have gymnastic specific classes, which we got one a week now on a Wednesday night. It's actually quite popular, but people know that they're going in to do that. Right. So I feel like what we've done at 7 is we just give people the options. So traditionally across at gym will be Monday, you've got 5x5 back squat. That's all you're doing. If you fancy a sweat, you're just not getting that today. Whereas I'm giving people the option. You've got your CrossFit class, you've got a Metcon class, you've got a 24/7 class, you've got all these different options. So if you want to go in and do some strength work, you've got a weightlifting class, you can come in and do that. If you want to do a bit of a mix, then, you've got all these different options. And, we're in a hyper competitive market. If people don't get what they want, we're across the river from Westminster. People can go to Barry's, they can go to the Foundry, they can go to Manor, they can go to F45, they can go to One Rebel, they can go to 2 other CrossFit gyms which are 400 meters away. So if we're not doing things right, then people have plenty of options, So we had to pack a big punch for basically an independent gym, right? So we're trying to offer kind of a bit of everything. And funnily enough, in London, we're not just competing for fitness, we're competing for people's time and people's fun and enjoyment. So if we're not putting on fun events, putting on things that people want to come to, they've got 10 other invitations or 10 other things. They go to theater, cinema, restaurants, bars, all sorts of things, concerts. So, that's something we're also competing with.
Yeah, it's my facility was in Windsor, so 20-minute drive from Central.
Yeah. What was the name of it?
Initially it was Eton CrossFit, We had to, and then we bought another one in Windsor down the road. So we had two, and they were Power for Fitness. They were labelled under. We kind of rebranded because we weren't allowed to be called CrossFit Windsor because there was one in Ontario, Canada. I mean, we're the original Windsor, and we can't call it Windsor. We weren't allowed to call it anything royal. There was no association with the royal family allowed. We went through this whole bloody 2 months of back and forward about names, and we ended up just going, right, what are the two things we're focusing on? Because I'm a massive advocate of power athlete. So we went with power, and then we were fitness. You know, the base of the pyramid. It was Power for Fitness, and we just went with that and branded it up and whatnot. And we were based at Thames Valley Athletics Centre, so we had full access to this insane Olympic standard like running track and facilities. So I could use that. So that helped kind of, you know, with what I wanted to do. Quickly before I talk about kind of Central, is he in London? London is very metropolitan. Heidi, I think, is from Minnesota, so she's very northern US. So.
I'm half from. So my dad's from Virginia. My mother's British. My dad's from Virginia, and then I grew up in Spain. Went to an American school of Madrid, and then went to university in DC. So that's why I've got a weird, confused accent.
There we go. Go. That answered Heidi's. Heidi's up very early. Yeah. So that's that. So London, it's a very different concept for people to grasp if they're in a very rural town with a population of 10,000 people in the arse end of nowhere, where you've got one other gym and then the CrossFit affiliate. For them to hear that diversification, adding different concepts, you know, are breaking away predominantly from just being a CrossFit affiliate, for them that's sacrilege. It's anti-CrossFit. But they just simply do not understand the marketplace in more metropolitan areas and in cities, especially London. London is rife with gyms and offerings. You know, the population, what is it, 8 million people live within like the zones 1 to 4, like, which is insane. So, and we're a very active community in London. There's a lot of younger working people, you know, couples, so they're in and out. They want a shorter one. That's why F45 has done so well in London. 45-minute sessions with, you know, shower facilities is booming. So for someone like yourself to be able to still run CrossFit alongside all of the others is testament to your ability to maneuver and to adapt and to work really well. My question about that was, have you had any third-party involvement from kind of mentoring or consultation from anyone at all? Is there anyone that you use, or is this just all you and your business partners?
It's all me and my business partner, to be honest. We've, you know, I guess we've learned a lot on the way. Stuff like Two Brain, we read stuff on it. We've had calls with them, but I just feel like a lot of it is just being kind of learning on the way. I think now, like, if I were to do it again, I would have done some sort of mentoring, or I would have probably got some outside help a little bit more, just so it wouldn't have taken so long. I think COVID was really a punch in the balls in terms of like the scaling of the gym. We had just kind of reached a point right before COVID that that we were kind of getting into comfortable like membership numbers, and then obviously COVID hit, and it was just up and down. It was, I don't know if you remember as well, we had the open gym, and it was coached open gym, and then you had to only 10 people to a class, and and then trying to explain to people how everything worked. And it was just every few weeks you had to change your business model, and then we had more lockdowns, et cetera, et cetera. And then, so that really took 2 or 3 years out of it in terms of like the growth, and we just kind of stagnated. But we've really seen now an acceleration in just the way we operate, the way the business is starting to scale. And then obviously, I think what I'm starting to do now is a little bit more of that sort of mentorship that you're talking about with my team. So we probably run our team at Slevin slightly different than most gyms. I want all my team, my full-timers, to have like a role in the business, so that they're hyper involved and hyper connected and feel like they have an impact on the business. So whether it's from coaching development, whether it's on like the Instagram, we have someone who works on events, we have basically operations. So all these roles, we're kind of building them out. But then also now I like to think bigger. So from the event side of it, it's kind of like GymSync is what we are trying to scale out. And then Jess Rosart, Julia Lim, they're running our Coaches Ed program, which we've now got SIMSPA endorsed. So that's our coaching education platform, which goes really nicely. Obviously, now we're building a network of gym owners. So that's something we're rolling out this year. They're doing a great job with that. So, it's really expensive to run coaches development as a small independent gym, because where do you see that on your bottom line? You don't, right? It's like, well, obviously the quality of your coaching gets better, but you've got to hire somebody to do this sort of thing. And you're not going to necessarily see that in being like, okay, well, this person that I've hired is generating X amount of money. It's kind of like this qualitative thing. So the way we saw it was, well, we're doing this anyway. Why don't we then scale this out? And, Coaches Ed is, we've got high aspirations for Coaches Ed, in the sense that we see there's a massive gap in what we call the internship, that middle ground between getting your PT or your level 1 and actually coaching on the floor. Yes. So that middle ground, that is what Coaches Ed is going to solve. And what we want to do is standardize that across the industry. So they've been doing a great job on that. And that is going to be rolled out this year a lot more. So we're going to roll that out to coaches. And what we want them to do is then deliver this course, and then we can improve that course. But then just imagine, what other industry do you have where you can do a weekend course, and then the next Monday you're being paid to deliver something, and you've got 20 people under your tutelage? It's insane. So, what we're trying to do here is, whether it's through GymSync, Coaches Ed, is try to professionalize things, try to make things better, right? So if we can do that with Coaches Ed as well, and all these kind of businesses are now kind of interlinked, which is really interesting.
The different arms of what you can expand on is great there. So I had Steve, who obviously from Defiant. He talked to Jamie Method up in Newcastle. They did their affiliate tour. They kicked off it there, and in the interview, he basically says what you're saying. He's professional. He used the word professionalizing his coaches. Full time is giving them options, giving them platforms to step up, like a development plan. Coaches development plan, having tiers, so promotions within the coaching. Depending on hours and performance and what roles and responsibilities you're taking. And what you end up with is this kind of group, of this force of coaches that actually give a shit. They're not just waiting for their paychecks or free membership. They actually want to be there, actually want to get involved, because they're part of that business. And that's always worked. That that gamification of allowing people to become part of your business and take ownership. It's why self-employment is so big, because people, once they start doing it for themselves, they are willing to work so much harder, because they want to. And then you've got the gyms from there's a guy called Rickard, who I interviewed last week now, from Berlin. A guy called Magnus from Tromsø, up the most northern box in the world in Norway. These people that keep reiterating the same thing. They want coaches to give a shit and become professionalized. And what it takes for that is investment from the gym itself and the owners in order to raise the bar. You can't just go on this death spin where you start paying less or giving them free membership for 2 hours a week, and then you end up with bad coaches that don't care. And you said about the bottom line, not being apparent. It's very obvious, though, after a year of having these poor kind of the coach development. It's very obvious after a while. Once you lose the first 20 members, then that's when it really starts to become apparent on there.
No, I agree. I mean, I see what Jamie's doing up at Method, and he's been down to 7. I think he was down at 7 last year, and awesome. It was a weekend I wasn't here, and I really wanted to have a chat with him. But we're going on gym tours, and we want to bring on these bigger gyms like Method and like Forum up in Leeds. So I don't know all these different gyms. You hear about the gyms, but you can see the ones that are run well. You can see that they've got best practice. But that's kind of where what we're trying to do with GymSync is we can connect everybody up through this network, and we can help with these best practices, and we can and from a very informal way. It doesn't have to be like me selling you a product. It can just be like in our group chat, hey guys, what do you do for taping down your lines? Hey, this is great. Or something as simple as that, to cleaners to, how do you run your classes, or like what, a lot of questions that I'm getting now is how we run our sims, and different ways of doing these sorts of things. So I've already started maybe consulting with one or two gyms as well. I've just had chats with them, going down, meeting them. They're at the start of their journey. So where I was like 6 years ago. So trying to give them that advice that I would have loved, like when I first started, to kind of how to focus on growing these sort of things. And, it's awesome. It's like the last year, my life has changed drastically just through GymSync, through what we're doing at Slevin. And, all I kind of want to do now is help people grow. So at Slevin, I'd love, like Loz, she's running a mom's club now at my gym. And it's her like little baby, like, excuse the pun, but it's just like, she could, like, 1 year ago, we had one or two mums, and now we've got 20 or 30, and, classes are busy, they're full. And she's just growing this little business out of the gym, and it's super exciting. And, so my Mondays now are just basically ring fenced around like trying to grow Slevin and mentor the staff. What are you doing? How do you do this? And then, I'll talk to other gyms. They're like, wow, you got a weekly meeting with your coaches? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh, I never meet with my coaches. And I'm like, well, yeah, I don't think I met with my coaches when I first started. But now I kind of see the value of it. Keeps everybody on their toes. What are you doing? What are you up to? Like, where do you want to go with things? I've got coaches that are coming to me now and saying, Nick, I want to do this thing. I'm like, okay, well, let's do it. How do we do it? What's your plan around it? And then we can kind of build that out. So, if I can help my staff or anybody that's working at Slevin to then build whatever it is they want to build, we can try to give them the resources and whatever advice and stuff that I can give them, we can try to do that. And then everybody's winning. And, at the start, it's just me and Tim, right? Just doing everything. Right. But now we've got like a couple more people, and then people are starting to do more stuff, and it'll just start to exponentially grow, which is exciting.
So there's this common theme, and I say this every time I'm on here. There's this common theme with people that I'm talking to that have had a bit of success and are growing and are seeing this growth in what others people would say is stagnant or is dying or is on its way out. Rebecca, who I had last week from Rising Tides, I don't know if you're aware of it. She runs this kind of business, this licensed business in Europe, reselling American goods that we have to pay extortionate fees to get. So things like T-shirts, kit, the Holy Balls brand, TDC mercantile gear that I've ordered a patch on my bag because it's really cool. She does that, but she makes no profit on it, and it all goes to annually. She changes the charity that she's working with. She's doing that because she saw there's a gap, there's a need for it. And rather than moaning about it, she's actually proactively taken ownership of the issue and done something about it off her own back. The charity she's working with, the Academy program, there's a girl called Hannah Mittu from Gloucester at Blueprint. There's a group of them that now across the UK that have set up, they saw this big problem with a disconnect between the youth, the school system and the affiliates. They've set up this incredible charity that takes kids from disadvantaged backgrounds or with learning difficulties or in foster care, links up with the schools, links up with the councils, links up with affiliates, connects them all and gets these kids into affiliates that are helping the affiliates that are now coming on board as coaches, that are now joining firefight, the services. These kids are making something of themselves all because of this service that we've had. That wouldn't be there if Hannah hadn't and the group hadn't decided, do you know what? We're going to take ownership of this issue and we're going to use what we have at our disposal to drive forward with this. The other gym owners that I've spoken to and the events owners, people that I've spoken to, Steve at Defiant, they've seen these gaps, and rather than sit back and moan and say it's stagnant or it's dying, they've said, do you know what? I'm going to do something myself about this. And they've driven forward that and it's working. So from what I see from your position here, you could quite easily decide that London's too competitive. We've got this old hat affiliation scheme where people can only do a level 1 and then become a coach, and the coaches aren't that good anymore, and this, that, and the other. Like a lot of other box owners that I've heard about are moaning that it's on its way out, and this, that, and the other. What you've done is exactly what they've done. You've taken the bull by the horns. You've said, you know what, I've seen a problem, but I have the facilities and the capability to actually do something about this. And you've done that. And that's what I love about all of this. This is what I love about this entrepreneurship within CrossFit that I'm seeing across the like businesses like yours. You've got an event, you've got a coach's development plan, which you're now going to roll out to assist other gyms and boxes in our environment to make them better. And it's that whole rising tides thing. And this is what I'm loving at the moment. I'm hearing all this positivity because people are actually doing something about it rather than just sitting back and moaning. And it seems to be the older affiliates seem to be the ones that are sat back going, oh, I can't be bothered anymore. And they're the ones that are de-affiliating or are moving back and giving up. So on behalf of your community, thank you. On behalf of the UK CrossFit scene, I'd say thank you again, because soon enough we're going to probably see this coach's ed. Yeah. I would love to do whatever I can. Maybe in a few months when you've rolled out and you've got that, we'll have you back on and we can discuss with who was the lady that's running that. Sorry,
I'll get you. So their names are Julia Lim,
right,
and Jess Rosart. So they're the ones running it.
Okay, lovely. What would be awesome is if I could have those two or one of them on whenever they're available, and we can just run through how this is looking, what it's going to look like, the materials that we're going to use, any kind of meetings or anything like that. Because this is the kind of thing that the whole point in this channel and this show for me was to just put everything out there that we've got at our disposal at a point where people are starting to give up on our methodology and this beautiful thing that we know we've got. And just put it all out there and offer these people and link people as much as we can across the continent and from a bias point of view, the UK, because that's where I'm based. But that's what we all want to see. We want to see that. So having people like you out there, especially in London, the centre of it all, really, it's so nice to see. So we want to do everything that we can to promote that.
I agree. I think, I like to moan a lot about the government, and, they've just doubled our business rates, and most people, like my members, won't know. Like our business rates have gone from £1,600 a month to £4,100 a month this month, right? So it's like that is somebody's salary that we are now basically like I can't pay my staff extra that amount. Right, I'll have a moan about it, but then I'm like, well, how do I make the money so that we can make it work? And I'm basically doing everything in my power to try to make it work. And, I'm not rich yet. I'm not like sitting on a whole, all I'm doing is trying to build these things. And I know that what I'm doing is right. And I know like these things are scalable, and I know that they'll ultimately be right. And, I do tell my team a lot. It's just like, okay, we just got to keep pushing. And, what becomes an overnight success is not that like, and I was telling one of my newest employees, she was asking me on Saturday, she's like, well, tell me about this. She's like, are you pinching yourself? So going back to GymSync, we've just partnered with Nike in this last event, and they've sponsored the Battle of London. So all the London gyms doing GymSync. She's like, we're going to this event at this other gym. They're going to have 100 people, and Nike are involved. Are you pinching yourself? And I'm like, yeah, but everything that I've done for the last 6 years, even 8 years since 2018, has been a build up to this moment. And this moment still is nothing. It's not like we've signed any contracts with Nike. Like, GymSync's still only at, X number of gyms. We've got so much work to do. But yeah, it is kind of nice to see the validation. And like this last 6 years is built. It's not just been building the gym. It's been building the staff, getting a really good, the team I have around me is amazing. And whether it's like at GymSync or at Slevin or whatever, like it's all due to like how much we've been like a driving force towards kind of where we're going now. And I just feel like, whether it's, the long nights at the start where me and Tim are coaching everything, doing a rebuild, cleaning, doing the programming, contracts, waiver, everything that you have to do at the start to, now we're, talking to brands for Slevin. They want to do events for photo shoots, all that sort of thing. So all my contacts in the last few years, now it's a lot easier for me to do things and meeting people in the industry. It's just like, this is kind of like this overnight success. I think Hormozy talks about it. He's like, it takes about 7 years. It's like literally exactly how long it's taken now for us to kind of be at this point now where, Nike are taking interest, I'm coming on podcasts and, people are starting to take notice of what's going on, but definitely it's not been an easy ride. And I'm in no way or form like, oh, I'm a successful person, because I still don't see myself that way. Because Coach Ed, we got lofty goals, GymSync, but we've got a lot of work to do to get to those points. Yeah. And it's an infinite game, right? So I'll be like, well, now we're at 100 gyms now at GymSync. Okay, I want 1,000, but last year we hadn't run our first event in May last year. Like this, this is less than a year old, really, in terms of like us running these events. So it's come quite a long way in the last year, at least from a GymSync point of view.
Question then for you, with GymSync, because it's done remotely, is it captured and contained within the UK, or is it scalable outside of it?
So it's scalable outside the UK. So naively, when we started, we're like, this is going to go global. We're just going to go like call out every gym that we can. Oh, I know a gym in South Africa. I know gyms in Spain. Let's call them up. And realistically, it's very difficult to run it in different countries. Obviously, languages, you've got currencies, you've got also, I think a big thing with what we're doing with GymSync is through partners. So getting people excited through partnerships. And we're partnered, say, with like Tenzing, an energy drink company, and we can't send them to Spain or South Africa. So what we do is, if gyms are coming to us and they want to run the events, we say that's great, you can do it. But you're might not get as much support as you would if you're a UK based gym. And I think we quickly realized that, like, to scale this, we need to, our bread and butter, well, my bread and butter is basically independent gyms. So I can talk from a peer-to-peer level with any gym owner in the UK, and we can basically talk shop for 30 minutes. And then the last 10, 15 minutes, we'll talk about GymSync and get them onboarded. And that's been really great and basically a lot of the growth on the sales part of it has been through that, is just being able to come to somebody and say, look, I'm a gym owner too, you should try this out, as opposed to me being, some Joe Blogs that's running a tech company and saying, hey, you should run this event. Like, I intimately know how to run events. I've been doing it for the last 6 years. We're probably one of the most successful gyms that run events in London or the UK. So, we kind of understand what we're doing here. So that gives me that kind of like foot in the door, which has been really good. So yeah, we're going to try to scale as much as we can in the UK. So our next goal is to get to that 100 gym mark. And what we think then is that this will then kind of, at the moment, it's all sales, and like not that much marketing. But then I think it's just going to switch around, and basically people will start to come to us. And we're already seeing that kind of flip around as well this week. This weekend we ran our most successful event, Surge. On Monday, we've had 6 or 7 gyms call up and want to book in for the next one, and that's never happened for GymSync. So, and it's only accelerating now. We've got more and more calls being booked, and it's super exciting. So, the more gyms we can get onboarded, the heftier the leaderboards are, the more partners we can bring on. And I think the really exciting thing and the biggest difference from like an affiliation and what we're doing with GymSync is that we're all in the same boat together. So you run a great event in Isle of Man, I run a great event in London, Jim runs it in Birmingham, all across the UK, and these events are all a success. We then don't even need the gyms to market the events themselves. You just need to put it on the platform. GymSync will be big enough for us to say, hey, tickets are released for our next event, Storm, and people will pile in like they do for High Rocks. And then people will be coming from outside your gyms, people will be coming like from leads, referrals. And, we're going to just take out a lot of that effort for these gyms and having to explain it all and all that sort of thing. So, that's our kind of ultimate goal. And, we're seeing it now starting to snowball, and it's a very exciting time for the company.
Absolutely. So 2 things I want to do before we start wrapping up, Nick. I know I've taken a lot of your time this morning. Firstly, so Heidi, if you go back and listen to the earlier part before you woke up from your beauty sleep, you'll be able to hear what GymSync is. Nick, have you got like an elevator pitch for what GymSync is that you can wrap up with for GymSync?
Yeah, so it's a erg-based competition, a turnkey event for gyms. We provide the marketing, we provide the technology, we provide a central source in terms of like the WODs and the score sheets, everything you need to run that event. You run it at your gym. You only need the bike erg, ski erg, and or row erg, depending on the event. And it's infinitely, and I would say the most accessible competition in the world. So everyone can do it, but doesn't make it easy. So as we all know in fitness, the simpler it is, the more difficult it is. And especially the fitter you are, it means you can push it a lot more as well.
And next question, out of I haven't seen anything on it. Have you linked up a partner with Concept 2 yet at all?
No, been working on it. So I had a chat with them last year, but I think it's just a size thing. I think once we get to sort of numbers that become interesting for them, then these doors will open. I think for these big partnerships, it's only a matter of time now. Before they start to take notice. And I mean, there's another company that we talked about at the start, which is leasing these ergs to gyms, or obviously, I mean, I've got gyms now buying ergs just to run the competition. I know Danny at Phobos has bought skis. I've give a couple of gyms up in Scotland who have done it as well. So, you're welcome, Concept 2. You can give us a call anytime. But we've got some really, really big partners on board now. I think obviously the Nike really stands out there, but and that's hopefully a partnership that we can grow and develop to something bigger.
Heidi, you put my gym's too small for. I'm sure it doesn't matter about. I was going to say something. It doesn't matter what the size of the gym is, how you operate it. So all you need is these machines. You need a roll of tape, and you need access to the internet. Yeah. It's perfectly scalable towards the size of your gym. It's more obviously based around the Metcon end of the pyramid, but that means it's massively accessible. The reason I asked about Concept 2, I know a guy called Alex Dunn who works at Concept in Nottingham at their depot. Known him for quite some time. We used to borrow and lend gear from them for events that we ran down south. Might be able to kind of have a chat and see if there's any inroad there. But the thing is, like you said, a lot of these gyms probably already have the kit. So from a perspective of Concept 2, I'd imagine their links into other sports, other clubs. You think this type of event, if you're a rower or you're in a rowing club, let's say, for example, the only events that you probably end up doing are rowing events. So having something like this, there's a whole other market, like you said earlier, to draw people into the gyms. You've got a load of rowing clubs all around the world. I used to work with Eton at Dorney. They were just around the corner. They've got insane facilities for this type of thing. Yeah. So it's not just CrossFit and functional fitness gyms. It's all the sports gyms around. It's the rugby clubs. You've got the football clubs. You've got all sorts of clubs that this is going to appeal to, that they don't need barbells. They don't need a rig. All they need is the kit that you've probably got already. So that I'd imagine that's where Concept could get involved, linking up and sharing this rather than actually supporting in a particular way. I think that could be, for a reach and an advertising thing, it could be
helping us scale. I mean, this is all part of the plan. So we've got plans to scale corporate, like in corporates. We've got plans to scale in commercial gyms, but then universities and then clubs. And one thing I was talking to Nike about was, this is not just Nike training. This can be any of your athletes can get, we should be getting, athletes. We need to get people that aren't into fitness down to do this thing because they can do it. And it is this mass market thing. Like when you're already starting to kind of see this, how this can unravel. You get a footballer, come down and do it. You can get, a surfer, whatever. So it's not just a functional fitness thing. You don't need to then sign up a pro Hyrox athlete to market this thing. Like we can market this in so many ways. And I see this, in the sense of like, at some point I was going on the BBC and them talking about it and being like, look, call these guys up, get it down to your, not only your leisure center, but then to your rugby club, get it down to your to the rowing club, get it down to the football clubs, because all you need is a bike, ski, row. And to Heidi's question about her gym being too small, I was just at the gym that just won the last event, Fuel, down in Twickenham. They had 3 rowers and they had 3 skis. And I could tell you what, the space, you could probably see it online actually on Instagram. It's really, really small, right? And they absolutely smashed it. They had waves of 6 people going every 30 minutes. Their whole community, there must have been like 30, 40, 50 of them on a Sunday morning doing it all. And, you know, the size of your gym, it does not matter. I think, you know, we've got Get Fit in Bath as well. I think they've got 2 of each, and they run it on like a full morning of it, and they're absolutely loving it. So, you know, okay, if you've only got 1 bike and 1 rower, then maybe, you know, you need to get some more in. But as this competition grows, we can figure out ways, as we talk to Concept 2, to getting more kit down. But also what we're finding is we're connecting gyms up as well. So Orpington and Sidcup, they CrossFit gyms, they basically alternate between who hosts the next event, and then they bring all their ergs down to the other gym. We've had lots of London-based gyms. So Catford and CrossFit 23 have done joint events, 7R and Dawn. So we're not just kind of linking up gym owners, we're now linking up communities, and that's super exciting as well. And we've got big plans to have in-person competitions, so where everyone can bring down 40, 50 of their members, from, you know, the brand new members all the way to the elites, and everyone can be doing it together. And it's not like you're not separated by ability. It's just everyone is going to be wearing that Slevin t-shirt or whatever, your Eaton CrossFit t-shirt, whatever it is that gym that you represent. And then we can really kind of build those communities as well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Great to hear. That's awesome. Yeah. So Nick, thank you very much for all of that. That's really, really appreciated. And I think we've done a, you know, pretty good job on well, you have explaining what GymSync's all about. I'm really excited to kind of explore the other avenues over some different shows. So I'll stay in contact with get in contact with Julia and Jess and try and see if they can come in about coaches development, because Coaches Ed, I think that's a superb thing. When's your next event? I did have it up on my board actually.
So the next event's called Storm. It's 27th to 29th of June. It's teams of 3. So we're changing it up from the teams of 2. So every event is different. The main piece of kit is going to be the bike erg. So it's going to be bike erg, ski erg, and row erg. And for all the viewers out there that don't like burpees, there's no burpees in the next event.
So what I might have on here is a few, because we've got quite a few American listeners on here. So like I said, I did ask earlier about if they can get involved. It is something that you guys can get involved with. So hit me up if you want to kind of get more information on that, and I can kind of get involved. I'd like to actually do this. So I'm going to have a see if we can get a couple of people or a few of my clients involved with this, because it's something that I think a lot of people should do. So good. All right, Nick, thank you very much for that.
That was going to be my last question, was, are we going to get you guys involved in the Isle of Man? And
100%. Do you know what? We've got a lot of endurance and Metcon athletes over here. We've got a hell of a lot of kit that we can use. We've got 10 of everything in our facility. So there's no reason we can't. We've got a indoor rowing club down the road. So there's absolutely no reason why not. We can't do that. So we'll definitely get that underway here.
Awesome.
All right, Nick, thank you very much for your time. I'll just, if you hang on for 1 sec, I'm just going to say goodbye to the guys, and then we'll just kind of sign off together. So thanks for joining me, guys. I've got on Sunday, I've got Daniel Chafee coming on, who is basically the man to do with everything CrossFit affiliate and education. So Daniel will be joining me at 9 a.m. GMT on Sunday. Hopefully some of you can join me for that. But until then, enjoy yourselves, train hard, and see you all soon.
Cheers, Jake.